I recently heard a statistic that we spend 50% of our lives working. Seriously, we spend 50% of our lives working. And what's crazy is that 8 out of 10 people in today's workforce say they don't even feel a connection to their job or their employer, which means that most of us are probably spending half of our lives feeling disengaged and maybe even unfulfilled. As the CEO of a recruiting firm, I lead a team that talks to thousands of job seekers every year, and we hear it all. We know exactly what employees want, and we know exactly what employees don't want. And let's just say it's not that complicated. It's the same thing the customer wants. Employees just want to feel like they matter. I mean, think about that last time you shopped at Trader Joe's. You probably wandered the aisles and looked for all your hidden treasures, and maybe you noticed the crew members that were stocking shelves, but also cracking jokes and speaking in this Trader Joe's lingo. And then when you approached checkout, maybe they opened up a new lane for you. And then while they bagged your groceries, they told you all about the new pickle popcorn. And they did it all with smiles. And maybe, if you're like me, just maybe you left there feeling a little bit happier. And if so, it's actually not a coincidence. It's their formula. Trader Joe's treats employees the way they want employees to treat customers. And as a result, their employees feel like they matter, and they make us feel like we matter. And we shop there because of it. And this is not just my opinion here. There is data to back this up. Companies like Trader Joe's with highly engaged employees can outperform their competitors by 147%. So why wouldn't all companies prioritize employee engagement? It's not because they don't want to. It's because it's hard. Managing customers and the bottom line is hard enough, and prioritizing employees often falls to the wayside. But it doesn't have to be this way. You see, when I was 17, I worked at Nordstrom, and I will never forget the story they shared with us during training about the customer that returned, now get this, a car tire for a cash refund. Last time I checked, Nordstrom does not sell car tires, but they told us, refund the tire, make the customer happy. And what I heard was, we trust you. And I'll admit, I loved that employee discount, but what I really loved about that job was feeling empowered. And after Nordstrom, I made my way through college into the corporate world, and I landed in a recruiting position. My first office had this sign on the wall that read, do it right now. And that became my work mantra, and I carried it with me as a professional. And then I found myself as a recruiter in the trucking industry of all places. And I loved being a recruiter. I got sucked right into that industry. And eventually I took the leap to start my own recruiting firm. And I specialized in, you guessed it, trucking. As a woman in a male-dominated industry, I quickly learned I had to work twice as hard to prove my value. But as a new business owner, I was determined to do that. I put my head down, I focused on my customers, I used my do it right now mentality to get ahead, and it worked. My customers were happy, my revenues were increasing, and the growth was so exciting. But I knew the only way I could sustain it would be to build a team. And so I hired a few college grads and very quickly learned that managing people is not my forte. And that's when I surrounded myself with 2 leaders to oversee our team, and we grew to 48 employees, scaling year over year, until the pandemic hit. If that wasn't enough, one of our leaders took a leave of absence, leaving the other to manage our entire team alone. And as my panic crept in, I just doubled down my focus on customers. I just wanted to make money so we could retain our team. And we did retain them, until a Friday in May of 2020, when my one remaining leader sent me a message. And it said, "Can you talk?" That's never good. And we talked, and he resigned in the middle of a global pandemic. And honestly, I don't even remember what we talked about, but I will never forget the way I felt when I hung up that call. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. And after I processed the information, that's when I realized, wait, I'm the only one left to lead this team? I have no idea what the heck I am doing. But over those next few hours and several glasses of wine, I paced around my house and I thought about all those miserable job seekers I had talked to all those years. They just wanted to feel like they mattered. And I remembered what I felt like when I was an employee at Nordstrom or when I'm a customer at Trader Joe's. And suddenly, it all made sense. I woke up that next morning and I knew I had to do it right, and do it right now. But this time it wasn't about doing right for the customer, it was about doing right for my employees. And so I picked up the phone and I decided to call every employee on my team, and it was terrifying. But I was honest, and I told that first person, listen, I need time to figure all this out. But I know one thing, that this business is my baby, and I want you on my team moving forward. And when I hung up, I was surprised at how overwhelmingly supported I felt. And I think that was the moment for me where my leadership light bulb flickered on, because I knew exactly what we needed to do, but I also knew I couldn't do it alone. And so on that Monday, we regrouped as a company, and I announced a new leadership team. And if you remember those college grads I hired way back when, well, many of them stuck by my side, and they knew the business better than anyone. So I identified 3 women who had leadership skills to complement mine, and I promoted them. And empowering a new leadership team created a domino effect in the best way possible, because we all had the same objective, to create a culture that we wanted to be a part of. A culture that felt like Nordstrom with the trust, but had the energy and camaraderie that we all feel when we walk into Trader Joe's. And from that day forward, our leadership team has made a commitment to make sure we have a culture where everyone matters. And guess what? It has changed our culture, but it changed our business results too. In that first year, we saw record profits, increased employee satisfaction scores, and higher productivity. And our employees stick around 2 years longer than the national average, which is good for the morale, but also good for our bottom line. And now you might be thinking, okay, all right, but how does one create a culture where everyone matters? For us, it's not just a one-time thing. It's been about small changes that have evolved into policies and processes that have staying power. And I want to share how some of these small changes have added up to be major game changers. So our first game changer is very simple. Show gratitude. It is human nature that we all want to feel recognized and appreciated for our work. Yet 56% of employees today say they feel undervalued by their employer. And what's really funny is if you ask employees if they would work harder if they felt more appreciated, they all say yes. So it just starts with a little gratitude. I recently heard that a manager on my team has been sending handwritten notes to her direct reports to encourage them. And this is something that I've done for years. So this warmed my heart to know that she is paying it forward, but even more so, that she is playing her role in shaping the culture that she wants to be a part of. And that is what's so cool about gratitude. It's one gesture that creates a ripple effect, and it truly can start anywhere. Our second game changer is to encourage a speak-up culture. One of our first leadership initiatives was to make more safe space for our employees to share honest feedback. So we started conducting weekly one-on-ones and anonymous employee surveys. And boy, did I learn my lesson when I got feedback from that last survey that said, Charlie sends too many after-hour emails and it's causing our team anxiety. Whoops. I did work a lot after hours, but I didn't know it bothered them. But instead of taking it personally, we created a policy. And this policy has helped everyone set boundaries, and it actually helps us empower our team to find that work-life balance that we always talk about. But the policy only exists because one person felt safe to speak up. And our last game changer is to contribute to a culture of caring. We often hear that business isn't personal, but if business policies are impacting my personal life, then business is personal. Many years ago, one of my direct reports started closing our weekly meetings by asking me the same question. She said, "How can I support you?" And yes, she was my direct report, I was her boss, but when she asked me that, it made me feel like I mattered, and I appreciated that. And so I totally stole the idea from her, and I started asking other team members the same question. And one day, a team member responded, and she told me she was struggling because she was recently returning to work after a miscarriage. And her input led us to creating a policy that supports all of our employees through any pregnancy loss. And unfortunately, this policy has been used more than one time by our team. But fortunately, these women return to work with this renewed sense of support. It's become part of our company's DNA now. But none of this would have happened if my direct report hadn't asked me that question all those years ago. So whether it is showing gratitude, encouraging a speak-up culture, or contributing to a culture of caring, my advice for implementing these game changers is very simple. First, you're gonna do it. Make the decision to care and make it a priority. Next, you're gonna do it right. Ask the right questions, but really listen to the answers. And last, you're gonna do it right now. Take action and make your mark. With 80 out of every 100 employees feeling a disconnect in the workforce, you guys, it is time for us to change this game. Whether you are leading a corporate division, managing a retail store, or serving on a school board, we all have the power to be game changers. But it's up to us to remember that business is personal. It's up to us to create cultures where everyone matters. It's up to us to redefine how we choose to spend half of our lives. And it's up to us to change this game together. So let's do it right, and let's do it right now.